All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us today. I think people are starting to join in, so we could go ahead and get started. Appreciate you joining us today on your lunch hour. My name is Karen Hickenbotham, and I'll be moderating the information session today. We've got a few MSOM staff and/or instructors that could be joining us today, so that'll be helpful if you have specific questions that they'll be able to answer. So we'll go ahead and get started. We ask that you save all questions until the end of the presentation. So again, thanks for joining us today. We'll utilize the chat feature in Zoom and we'll go ahead and get started. So for the MSOM programs, we're in the Department of Industrial Engineering under the College of Engineering, and we have 3 Master of Science degrees in Operations Management, Engineering Management, and Engineering. We also have 3 graduate certificates that we're going to be talking about later on in Project Management, Lean Six Sigma, and Homeland Security. So people often ask us, what is operations management? And it's a very diverse discipline. So the Master of Science in Operations Management is designed for all professionals who want to return to school to receive a specialized training in managing business and government operations. So the disciplines really span over a wide range of professions, anywhere from HR to supply chain to logistics, finance, whatever you may be. So start thinking right now your specific situation and maybe where you want to go, maybe where you are and how to improve where you're at currently. So we can answer those questions for you specifically, and I'm sure others would probably like to hear those questions as well. So like I said, every industry and government organization needs operations management professionals because they develop projects or products and services to serve their customers. So by applying to the OM program, you can learn to apply the 10 operations management decisions that you see here on the screen to lead and manage your day-to-day and long-term business and government operations. So a little bit of history. The MSOM program was established in 1974, so we've been around a while. We are the largest graduate program on campus. We have graduated over 5,000 students. 90% of them have completed their degree full online. We have 65 instructors who teach our courses who have real world experience. And we also have 35 graduate courses that are offered each year. Another question is, what can I do? Now that I know what operations management is, well, what can I do with this degree? So again, I'm not going to read all of these. Most of you folks can read for yourself. But like I said, anywhere from human resources to government, military, finance, and banking, we've got a wide range of professions from our students. Another question is, what are the classes like? Well, we have courses in several areas spanning from human resources, data analytics, supply chain, leadership and project management, Lean Six Sigma, and Homeland Security. So why MSOM? Well, we really invite you to visit our social media platforms and read our student testimonials because they're going to be the ones that are going to tell you what they learned, how they applied it, and they're going to be the best storytellers for our program. We have a Facebook page that you can search us. We also have a LinkedIn and then a Twitter. And so those are posted weekly. Most of them are from graduates who had just completed the comprehensive exam, which I can go into detail later if anyone has any questions. But these are the folks that are exiting the program, and they kind of reflect on where they started, how it changed them throughout the program. And then now that they're at the end, what are their future plans? So like I said, I stole this from Mindy Hunthrop, who's our Assistant Director for Faculty Development. This is a survey that she does with students who are taking their comp exam. And these are some major themes that she pulled together of what students are saying when asked, what are the strengths of the MSOM program? So the first, we always hear about the flexibility of the program, not only scheduling, but the offerings of the courses. The diversity of instructors' knowledge, backgrounds, and experience. And I think every testimonial I have posted, they all have said this is practical, real world examples and projects that I learned today and I was able to go and use tomorrow. So the concepts can be applied to many roles. Another one is the affordability, and we'll get into that in the nuts and bolts here pretty soon. The collaboration with other students. They love the integration with students. So you're not just logging on to an online course and kind of just fending for yourselves. You're going to have collaborations with other students, whether it be projects or discussions. And for being a full online program, I know students have said, I have made colleagues for life. Like I will keep in touch with this person the rest of my career. So also the diversity of student population and experience. So we have many from around the world who come and join us, and they all have wide range of experience. Some are just coming out of their undergraduate degree. Some have been out in the workforce and lead very high roles for the last 20, 30 years. So doesn't matter where you are, this degree is probably for you. So just real quick, we'll get into the admissions information here for those who are interested. The COVID-19 announcement. So for the fall 2021 term, things kind of are back to normal, but not fully. So at this time, we're waiving the GRE for applicants with a 2.5 to 2.99 undergraduate GPA with admission exceptions. And if you have specific questions about that, I'd be happy to answer those. Applicants with 3.0 or above is automatically, the GRE is waived. And so once GRE testing centers resume normal operations, we'll kind of reevaluate in the fall what to expect for spring 2022. The standard admission requirements will go back into full effect. So just a little information here. Like I said, our motto is learn it today and use it tomorrow. Operations management is a high wage, high demand field spanning numerous industries. Our program is 100% online, or we do have video synchronous options or evening classes on campus. There is no out-of-state tuition, so all domestic students will pay the same rate. It's $303.88 a credit hour, plus a flat rate $50 technology fee. So for a 3-hour course, it's just over $1,000, which most people say, how much does your program cost? Because when they are searching online for programs, the one thing they're looking for is, okay, how flexible is this for me and my needs, and what is this going to cost me? Because, my employer may be reimbursing me, or I want, the best bang for the buck, right? And so depending on the prerequisites that will be required into the program, it could be anywhere, probably less than $15,000 for all students. If you are an international student who's coming to us, there are other fees that you will pay. And so we can, again, specifically answer those questions for you. You can learn from professors. They all have current and relevant business expertise. These are STEM-oriented courses designed to meet tomorrow's needs. And that's another thing that our students say in testimonial. I was looking for a STEM degree. I wasn't looking for a business degree. And so we're out of the Department of Industrial Engineering. So we teach industrial engineering concepts and how to apply those to real world situations. The program consists of 10 graduate courses. There's 4 required and 6 electives. You do have to maintain a 3.0 GPA for graduation. The flexible degree plan really lets you choose classes beneficial to your goals, because somebody who is in HR is not necessarily going to be concerned or want something that's more, quantitative in data analytics. So that's really the big draw to our program, is the flexibility. You can also earn a graduate certificate, which I mentioned at the top of the presentation, concurrently with the MSOM degree without taking any extra courses. And I'll get into that very shortly. So our program is no thesis. It requires a comprehensive exam, which is a 2-part presentation and oral exam. Again, no GRE or GMAT, as long as your GPA is 2.5 or higher currently, with the COVID exception. You can enter from any undergraduate degree. It does not matter. We have people with BAs, with BS, with a BBA. So it does not matter what your undergraduate degree is in. We have anywhere from art history to journalism to medical to, business, from STEM, a lot of engineers. So very diverse. We have 5 8-week sessions a year. So you're able to start anytime during the year. You don't have to join a cohort in the fall. You don't have to wait to the top of the semester. You can start anytime in 8-week 1 or 2 in the fall or spring semester. And then we also have a summer admission term. You can complete the program as quickly as 1 year. You do have up to 6 years to finish before your coursework starts to expire. And you would specifically work with your advisor because we are military friendly. 35% of our students are currently active, retired, or dependents, spouses of military folks. And we've got very experienced advisors in tuition assistance through the military, the various branches. And so that's another thing that our military folks will say in some of our testimonials is, man, I got deployed. I was able to come back a year later. I picked it up and I was still able to finish, or I got transferred overseas and I was still able to complete the degree. So that's another nice thing, perk about our program. The admission process, the application is free. Unofficial transcripts are accepted for evaluation purposes only. Your officials are still required, but we don't require a resume, letters of recommendation, or personal statements for admissions. So the prereqs I mentioned, they don't need to be completed for admission into the program, but they will be the first required courses in the program. Transcripts are reviewed for undergraduate equivalency. So the 4 are going to be law and ethics, which is basically a business law course, industrial cost analysis, which is a basic accounting course, whether that be financial or managerial accounting, applied statistics, and this can be from any discipline. So we've seen anywhere from psychology statistics, social behavior statistics, statistics for engineers or statistics for medical personnel. So it can be from any discipline. We also have intro to decision support tools. And so we call this kind of our advanced Excel course. And just a disclaimer, most students, there are 2 options. We have one where you can just simply take the course, or you could be provided a study guide and try to test out of the course with making a 70% or better. Most students say they love this course. Reflecting back, it taught them so much and it gave them the skills and the speed they needed in their job with Excel to advance their skills. The application deadlines. So for fall, we've got 8-week 1 and 8-week 2. That's August 9th and September 28th. The spring 2022 application is open. However, those deadlines have not been set, but likely for 8-week 1 for spring, it's going to be the first week of December will be the deadline. And then for 8-week 2, it's going to be kind of mid-February. And there is the link to apply. Our graduate certificates, I mentioned we were going to go over these. We have 3. So the project management we have is to design, to provide skills to become better project managers and prepare for the PMP certification. We have Lean Six Sigma, can't talk today. That teaches you how to eliminate problems, remove waste, and reduce variation to improve operations. And that course was actually just updated, and we have a new video that I can include a link to if you'd like to learn more about Lean Six Sigma. And we have Homeland Security, which is designed for industry and safety professionals to learn how to mitigate risk. So those graduate certificates, what do those mean? Well, there's only 4 classes to each certificate, okay? You can obtain this as part of your master's degree without taking any extra classes, or you could do it as a standalone program. The requirement for the GPA is 2.5. There's no GRE for the certificates. Again, you can take this in conjunction with your master's degree and those classes are going to double count. Or this is a way to be like, you know what, I think I'm only interested in a certificate now. But if you choose to be like, you know what, I'm really enjoying this and I think I've already had 4 classes, I think I can, I can dedicate another year to this and then I would get my master's. This is a way to transition into the MSOM degree program as well. Okay, so short and sweet, we try to give you all the information and then allow you to start typing questions in the chat box. We do have some folks with us today. We've got Carol Altum, which is, she is the assistant director on the student services side. So she handles all the admissions and the advising, so she can answer questions. We also have Dr. Rich Ham, who's the associate director for not only the MSOM program, but the Master of Science in Engineering Management, and also can tell you anything or answer any questions on the Homeland Security certificate if you are interested in that. So we do have some folks with us. I'll give some people a little time to start typing their questions in the chat box. So just to kind of get you started, anything from if you have questions about your undergraduate degree and what that means, or what classes you took, or maybe would this count for a prerequisite? Any questions about the advanced Excel prerequisite? We have a lot of questions about that. where you're at currently in your job, or, would this help you transition into a new career if that's what you're looking to do? So all those kinds of questions, um, we can answer for you. So I'll give you a few minutes. We are going to, let me go ahead and get to my chat here. Again, the fall 2021 admission application is open. We have a YouTube channel that you can check out on various operations management topics. I will send out a follow-up email that's going to have all of this information. It's going to have a link to this recording. Also some links again to, the new video about our Lean Six Sigma and all that good stuff for you folks to follow up or even share with your colleagues or supervisors to see if anybody else would be interested. So I see a few folks right now turned on their video. So glad to see you folks here today. Does anybody have any questions for us? Okay, Corey, thank you. Let's see here. Let's get the Corey. Okay, so Corey says, I currently work as a safety professional. Have you had any in this field that come through the program in the hope of possibly making the transition to operations? Carol or Rich, do you have any insight on that kind of transition?
So we have many students that use either a certificate or a program to transition into another role. We'll have some that will pick, for instance, cybersecurity because they see an opportunity, or they'll take the supply chain course and then use that in conjunction with how they plan. So many students actually plan their electives to prepare themselves for either changing roles or advancement within that role. So absolutely, happens with many of our students.
Okay, thank you for that, Dr. Ham. Anybody else have any questions about, where they are currently and how this can transition, or are you thinking about a career change or, a possible promotion? So many things have changed over the last year that our program is so relevant for, that students are just blown away, like, oh my gosh, this, through this pandemic, my job has changed, or my industry has changed, or I got laid off, and this program has really kind of helped me get back on track. So Jen is asking, can you please provide the link to the new Lean Six Sigma video? I actually will. Anybody who registered for this will receive that link. It's awful lengthy. I'm not going to include it in the chat, but it will be posted on our YouTube channel, and then I'll provide that link as well. So thank you, Jen. Tyler, thanks for joining us. It says, how many classes do most students take per 8-week period? What would you recommend? That is a fantastic question. It all really depends on your situation. So I'll just give you a couple for instances. Most students take one class per 8-week. So that is basically completing 5 classes per year. Okay, so on average, you're going to complete that. That would be 2 years, okay, including taking the comp exam in your last semester. So I have a student who was like, I am working 80 hours a week. I can only take 1 class per semester. What is that going to do for me? And then a month later, unfortunately, his company reorganized and he was laid off. And so he's like, all right, let's do this. And so he was taking 2 classes per 8-week term. Most international students will opt to take 1 to 2 per 8-week term because they have more free time since they are not working. So it all depends on the situation, but on average, I will tell you that most students will take 1 class per 8-week term.
Also, Karin, I do want to add that the average amount of time that our students take to complete the MSOM degree program is 1.6 years. So that's approximately a year and 2 semesters, a year and a half. So again, I always tell students, if they've never taken an accelerated course whether it's a 5-week course or an 8-week course, 10-week course, if they don't have the experience of taking an accelerated course, then I say to start with 1 class per 8-week session. Then you can determine, is 1 or 2 appropriate for you and your life, because they're about 90+% of our students have full-time jobs. So they have things outside schoolwork that involves work, family, commitments on weekends. I do want to mention that we limit the number of classes a student can take to 2 classes per session. So there are only a handful of students who request to take 3 per 8-week session. And it's because for some reason or another, they're trying to finish the degree in a certain amount of time, or they're not working full time, and we will allow it. We just don't want to allow all of our students to take 3 or more each session, because it is a lot of work.
Yeah, those are all very good points. That is sometimes going to be a little bit of a shock when someone who maybe has been out of school for a while. I know I went back and got my master's after 10 years after my last undergrad. And so it can be a little bit of a shock of, oh my gosh, I have to retrain my brain on how to do all this. And so it is probably a good idea that first 8-week or even first semester to just do 1 class per term, especially if you're working, and even more especially if you have a family at home and kids running around and weekend obligations. So it all depends on your personal situation, but that all very good points from Carol. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, can I add one more thing?
Sure.
Okay, so a lot of students say, well, I'm going to take 2 non-quantitative courses, at the same time, and I think I should be okay. And sometimes that's okay, but we do have non-quantitative courses that are heavy reading courses. So even though you're not trying to calculate, you're not in Excel the entire time, those courses require a lot of reading. So, ask your advisor, ask me, ask Karen, ask instructors that you're in classes with, ask them what, about courses that you're going to take in the future, and trying to balance like one course with another. So that's just my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
Yeah, and that's funny that you mentioned that, and that's also a good point, because I just had a conversation with a student who is really anxious to finish in the fall. And I know this student very well. I actually had him at another university in another undergrad program. And so I know his full capability, and he was even doubting himself. He said, well, I'm going to take, this class and this class together because they're both non-quantitative over the summer. And I'm like, okay, well, are you still doing A, B, and C? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, let's go look at a sample syllabus and see what kind of, supplemental readings there are, because if there's a lot of reading involved, then you're going to have to make sure that, you can dedicate the time to do that, because again, these are accelerated courses. You're going to have something due every week. And these discussions, are not just 1 or 2 sentence, answers. And so they're going to be in depth. You're going to be collaborating with other students. So it will take some definite interest on your part. So thank you for Tyler. I hope that answers your question. If you have anything more specific you would like to ask, I'd be happy to talk with you one-on-one. Let's see, Wayne, thanks for joining us. He says, I was also interested in the online professional master of applied business analytics. Is this something like the operations management degree? Dr. Ham, do you have any insight? The only insight I have is I actually had a student who was deciding on between that program and our program. And for his specific situation, he chose MSOM because he said it was going to be more diverse, more versatile for where he was wanting to go in his career. The only thing I really know about that is it's an interdisciplinary course. So I think like it's taught in the College of Engineering and the Walton College of Business. So Dr. Ham, do you have any other insight on that?
Yeah, so the the program, they could speak for themselves, obviously, but I'll just tell you kind of the difference. It's really based on what your personal goals are. If the idea is that you want to get a very specific understanding of analytics and that your focus is going to be on analytics positions and working in that field, then you're going to get very deep, broad exposure to several different, methods, software, and really highly quantitative. But that program is designed to give you this really deep understanding of the use of analytics. If you're looking for a broad idea to move into operations, and you want to sprinkle some, because we have an analytics course that could be used, as well as some of the decision model courses and others, and you want to guide it that way, then OM is probably the place to be. It really depends upon what your goals are. Even within OM, you can choose to focus on, kind of the areas where the certificates are, and get both a certificate and the OM degree. But you could also, you could choose HR, other areas where you could say, I want to stay in this broad area, but I want to get 2 or 3 courses under my belt that gives me some electives that really focuses on my next move. So everybody's going to be different. I'd spend some time looking at what is your ultimate career goal, where you want to be. If you want to be someone who's, the number cruncher, looking at the analytics and analytics techniques, towards marketing, and that is your primary focus, then that degree makes sense. If you're looking in broader operations areas, to be an operations manager, or somebody that's going to go into one of the areas that you can kind of, get grounded in, then OM makes sense. Very, very personal. It's all about what your personal professional goals are.
Yeah, that's correct. And that's exactly what, this student that I was helping was going through. I mean, he took actually several months to decide between the two, and really did his homework, because he said, this is it. This is my last shot of, building my career. And so he really wanted to get it right. And fortunately for us, he chose the MSOM program. So but Wayne, I hope that answers your question. If you have anything more specific, I'd be happy to help you locate, a contact person over there, or, answer any more questions you may have. Zach has joined us today. Thank you. He says, I took a business law class in my undergrad program over 10 years ago. Would this course transfer and count for the prerequisite? My initial answer is yes, but here's the disclaimer. Your prerequisites have to have a C earned or better. So as long as some undergraduate programs, I know especially in Arkansas, are now accepting Ds in their undergraduate program as sufficient for graduation. So we don't take the grade of a D, but we do take anything C or better. So as long as that falls in line with, we evaluate law classes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a business law. There are other law classes out there that are business-like. And so we evaluate on an individual basis. But yeah, Zach, I can, without looking at the transcript and anything like that, my initial answer would be yes. So we have a question for international students. Great. Thanks for joining us today. What is the deadline for fall 2021? Also, can the operations management course be done on campus rather than online? Carol, I'm going to stop talking and let people hear from you for a minute, since you help with admissions, and especially, work with our advisor, Lisa, with international students. So what would you like to say here?
Yes, there is still time to apply for fall 2021 as an international student. I would say that I haven't looked at the calendar, but the deadline, I would say the deadline for international students is at least 2 months before the start of the semester. And that allows the graduate school to evaluate your international transcripts and to process your visa paperwork. it does take a lot of time to evaluate international transcripts. So that's why the deadline for international students is so um, um, ahead of domestic students. I would say if you're at all interested, go ahead and apply today. And then as you get your transcripts together and documents together, to upload them, because the graduate school needs as much time as possible to process international paperwork.
And that's
And yes,
also, Carol,
and
that, go ahead.
and your other question, um, can the operations management courses be done on campus rather than online? Yes, we do have a good number of international students who are here in the Fayetteville area, who live here, and who take classes on campus. As an international student, you must take at least 9 hours, 9 credit hours during each semester, each fall and spring semester. 6 of those hours, so must be live on campus courses. And then the other class, the 3 credit hours, can be online. In the summer, it does not matter if you choose online or on campus. Thank you
Correct.
for that.
Yeah, and that, just to follow up, there's another question about language proficiency on what they need to provide. So if you have a domestic degree, then that language proficiency is waived. However, all of the paperwork and things that Carol is referring to is if you have a degree from an international university, correct, Carol?
Correct.
Also, the language proficiency that you would need to provide, it would depend on, where what country you're coming from. And I believe, Carol, the TOEFL scores is what they base that on. And then if you want to maybe mention real quick, the Silk required courses are recommended that they might have to take as well.
Yeah, we look at the TOEFL writing scores. So depending on the score and it will depend on if you could waive any English classes, and if you fall, if your scores are low, then it may be um, intensive language studies may be required, and those are offered here on the Fayetteville campus. So the graduate school does look at TOEFL, mainly at the TOEFL writing scores.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Carol, for that. And
Also,
I hope.
I'm sorry,
Oh, go ahead.
they are offering, you can take other exams, including, because of the pandemic, it's tough to take the TOEFL exam. They are accepting, I think, like a Duolingo language exam. I'm not certain about the actual exam, but I could have Karin forward the link to all the English language requirements that are required for admission and enrollment.
That'd be great. Thank you for all that. And I just want to say, shout out to Wayne. Thanks for letting us know that you might, the OM degree could be the one for you. I would love to connect you with the advisor that would help you throughout the program, just to kind of give you some more information and maybe answer some specific questions. So my email is right there on the screen. You want to shoot me a quick email and we can get a conversation started, and I'll probably have a few questions for you. Thanks for joining us again today. So we've got LaShawn. Thanks for joining us. And it says, I have a degree in interdisciplinary studies, minors of biology, psychology, health sciences. How could I work this master's program into my degree? Dr. Ham, do you have any insight on an interdisciplinary study that kind of has a wide range, but it looks like more, some STEM, but also some, psychology and health science? That's kind of a mix.
That's not really as unusual as you might think. We have several people that come in. Well, we had one student I remember in particular that was interested, that operated a medical lab and was interested on increasing the efficiencies of the lab, as well as learning some of the new uh, uh, responsibilities. They had to supervise people, but they applied some optimization principles from the program to improve COVID testing. They had a very diverse background. We have a lot of people in for instance, the Homeland Certificate or an OM that take Homeland that will use the background that they've got for everything from supply chain to some of the requirements in healthcare settings that is regulated for Homeland. We have others that we'll see that come from an interdisciplinary background that will do things in manufacturing. We have some that are actually operating their own drone businesses now because they took that track and applied it. Some that have applied that to drone business that were a part of forensic science, drone business part of measuring temperatures of individuals for COVID screening. So there's really almost no area that you don't see the principles in OM apply. And honestly, people that have very diverse backgrounds seem like they do better because they're able to do both the quantitative and STEM type pieces, but also the qualitative, more liberal arts sort of things, including psychology and the pieces that go into leadership. So, it's again, the one strength of the program, very individualized, can be customized to what your particular goals are and where your interests are, and sometimes allowing you to use 3 or 4 different interests for that application. So every time that I think I've heard just about every possibility of what people are using their degree for, I hear about a new one that someone has said, hey, this really helped me and here's what I did. And you're like, I'm like, I never really considered that, but now I see it. So I think there's plenty of places for interdisciplinary backgrounds in OM.
And also, LaShawn, I'd like to also add that a new interest, a new emerging interest in the area of industrial and organizational psychology is, we're starting to see a lot more students interested in that. We did redo a class of behavioral, let me take a look, human behavior analysis class that, it may be something you're interested in, but we just recently redid that class, revamped that class, and it's becoming more popular each semester because of it. But I'm trying to think of a webinar we just did, and it was more towards the industrial and organizational psychology. And I can't think if, Karin, if you know which one I'm talking about. It was really popular.
That was with Jeff Bean and Travis that
Yes.
kind of went in, and basically Jeff is on like the human behavior side and Travis is on the HR side, and they and it is a great webinar. And you'll get a link to our YouTube channel, which that video is posted on there. And I think, LaShawn, you really should check that out when you have time. Those two could go on for 3 hours. I had to cut them off after 50 minutes because it's such a popular topic and they are so well versed, and they are just it was so interesting to listen to. I forgot I was in a webinar, or I forgot I was in a lecture kind of thing. So check that out. And again, for everybody on here, we have dozens and dozens and dozens, and thank you to Minty Hunthorpe, who I think joined us. She started the webinar series. And so dating back to 2016, we've got OM topics, and you can see how our topics have evolved over the years. Dr. Ham is very involved with drone, and he can talk a little bit about that if he wants. We've got several drone videos on there and kind of what he does in his Homeland Security class. We haven't had many questions about the certificates, and so again, my email's on the screen. If you have any questions, you can reach out. But Dr. Ham, do you want to say anything about what you're going to be doing in the fall with your Homeland Security class or the drone certification?
Sure. So the Homeland class is, and probably the strength of that one is not, and I will say, and I think what Carol um, said earlier about the intensity, Homeland course is pretty intense course. I mean, everybody that does the work, they do fine, but they kind of thought they knew all the requirements in the Homeland Security until they start looking at the requirements and realize, wow, there's really a lot that I could apply to. But the good news is there's a limited number of people that have that knowledge and they have a skill set that they can bring, whether it's supply chain compliance or whether industry or government, that they can bring in that about how to ensure that you don't have insider threats and how to do threat assessments and how to do the kind of things that you need to do. And it includes some of info security. We typically, for that class, have guest speakers. Not as many in the summer, but in the fall and in spring, we've had the governor a couple of times. We have Homeland Security and emergency management executives, government executives, some that are, undersecretary, that level, that speak and provide, and there's an ability to interact with them. So a lot of that, what comes out of that class is getting the foundation, but then actually talking to individuals that became operations managers at the highest levels of both industry and government. We have typically Ken Sensor, who retired as had retired as a CIA FBI senior executive, but then came to Walmart and was a senior vice president for security, for global security and aviation at Walmart before he retired. So that level of interaction. The drone course literally changes. It's hard to even keep up with. We do research, but we have some of the newest artificial intelligent drone that we're doing that students get a chance to interact and fly, as well as getting the 107 certificate and building a more advanced course that has to do with actually getting down to the more difficult parts of processing and doing some of the model work. So if you look at things like the crack in the I-40 bridge that was just discovered, we have a drone AI that can fly and do those inspections and give automated warnings about those and do it relatively quickly without having to hang people over the side of the bridge and close parts of the bridge down for a week at a time. So there's a lot of OM advancement to come out of both the use of drones and inspections and supply chain. One of the things that we're going to add for the fall is the use in several, and it's a growing number of companies that are doing inside warehouse inventory control, blockchain connected inside the warehouse using drones. They're going up and scanning, then coming back and doing automated, as opposed to manual inventories. It's happening automatically every day. So that sort of thing, and kind of the trying to stay on the very tip of the newest advancements in drones and Homeland and cybersecurity, as well as what's going on with emergency and crisis management leadership. Those are the kind of things we do. And we spend a lot of time, Mindy could talk more that's on here, but you would not find many programs. One of the strengths of this program is that we spend a lot of time evaluating courses and updating them. So you don't get to a course and learn stuff that from 10 years ago. We are looking at those courses every year. We're evaluating which ones need to be updated. We're evaluating what should change, and then actually bringing faculty in and upgrading those so that the newest skills are there. A lot of things from the pandemic, from the last year, that we've updated with both new technology, techniques, and models, and emergency and crisis management that we added this year, particularly because we're looking to make sure that it stays relevant.
That's a very good point. I mean, there's so many new things that we've been able to do and offer our students. We've got, what Dr. Ham is doing in the fall. That's a pretty cool point about the bridge crack with the drones. I like that. But we just revamped the Lean Six Sigma course, and we also have the project management courses in advanced project management, where we are constantly updating and making our courses relevant, because a lot of our students go on to take the national certification, the PMP certification, and take that exam, as well as maybe go for the green belt with Lean Six Sigma. And so whatever those certifications that you're interested in, we can certainly answer more in-depth questions for you if you would like. Thank you, Carol. Everyone, she has put in the link to the YouTube channel in the chat box, and also the link to apply. Again, there is no application fee to apply. If you are interested and you have questions about prereqs or your GPA or anything like that, please send me an unofficial copy of your transcript. Again, my email's right there. I'd be happy to look it over for you. And if you're very interested in the program and say, hey, I'm going to go online and apply tonight, then I'd love to get you connected with the advisor that you're going to work with in the program, because they are just a wealth of information and help with, you know, if you're using any sort of military benefits or anything like that. Let's see, Carol, you might want to field this question. It says, I'm an international living in a French-speaking country. I did not have my English language test. Can I submit my application now before taking a new English test? I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Would you?
Yes, you can submit your application, and then the grad school will be in touch with you to tell you what is required. But if you're an international, if your native language is not English, then you would need to submit an English test, an English proficiency test. So you could, if you can, if you have a specific question, or just tell us, you know, more specifically what your situation is. If you could email Karin at kahicken@uark.edu, and she could forward it to me, and I'll be happy to answer that question.
Thank you very much. International applications can be a little tricky depending on where your degree's from and what your native language is and all that. So we do take a look at that on an individual basis, and we would try to get you an answer fairly quickly. Right now, we are prioritizing summer applications, but we certainly have contacts and have regular contact with graduate school and their analyst over there that we could maybe, you know, get you an answer sooner than later. But that is certainly a possibility. So we'd be happy to take a look at all that. You can also email msom@uark.edu. That's our main general information website. Again, I'd be happy to just speak with you directly. So I don't see any more questions in the chat box. I do want to remind everybody that the deadline for fall is up, and will start August 9th. Summer applications are already closed, but you know, I would get your application in sooner than later. There is going to be a processing time, and depending on how quickly you can get us transcripts, a lot of people don't have access to their unofficial transcripts, especially in electronic form. So if you're thinking about it, you know, the best case scenario is sooner than later, but certainly we'll be accepting applications up until August 9th. So I want to thank everybody, especially Dr. Ham, Carol. Thanks for chiming in with me. You're always a wealth of information, and we're glad that other staff members were able to join us today. Again, check out our website, operations.management or -management.uark.edu for any general information. There's all kinds of information on there about the comprehensive exam and what that entails. If anybody has any questions about that, all 3 of our certificates are listed on there. That's going to tell you, you know, which courses are going to be required. Again, there's only 4 required for the certificate. And then it's going to give you a list of course descriptions and course offerings for all of our electives on the MSOM website. Also has a link to our webinar series, which again has dozens and dozens and dozens of videos on topics that are going to be likely in one of our courses. And you're going to actually be able to be introduced, because many of those presenters in the webinars, in fact, all of them, are or have been instructors in our program, so you could kind of start to get a feel for, you know, their teaching technique and what an online class may be like, you know, with what they're presenting and what level of expertise that they can deliver, and get to know a little bit about them there. We also have individual info sessions on our 3 certificates. They're very short. They're about 10 minutes, that has a Q&A with each of probably one of the experts in the field. So an expert from project management, an expert from Lean Six Sigma, and Homeland Security. So real short 10-minute videos. Those are info sessions. There's also info sessions on the comp exam that Carol and I host for current students. So you can kind of get a feel for what would be required. And it's not as scary as it sounds or may be. So this is a lot of information. We get it, let it digest. And I will be following up sometime this afternoon with an email to all of these links, all of this information. And then that way we can start a conversation. Let us know if you've applied. I'd love to know, just so I can kind of track your application and give our advisors a heads up. They always get so excited when they have new students coming into the program. So again, if you're military, we'd be happy to answer any tuition assistance program questions that you may have. So, and then thank you for the international student questions. Those are great. Glad you could join us today. So we'll wrap up and let everybody get back to their day, and look forward to working with all of you. And thanks for joining today.